The switch axe is probably one of the coolest weapons that I've had the pleasure to use in Monster Hunter Wilds. This weapon is explosive, and I literally mean there's explosions that come off this weapon, and it's just pretty much cool because you get to use an axe and a sword as well, all in one weapon, and you can just swap between the two and deal high amounts of damage. This is probably one of the most cinematic weapons in the game, and it's just pure awesome. So if we dive straight in, what you'll notice is in the top left, you've got your health bar, your stamina bar, your sharpness bar, and then you have another bar that is actually split into 3 sections. So you can see that yellow bar, that is what you call your switch gauge. This is what you're trying to build up using the axe mode for the weapon, and then you'll spend this using your sword mode. Underneath that, in the bottom left, you have the power axe gauge, and you'll be building this up using the axe mode, and this will actually increase the damage and the amount you can charge your switch gauge up while in axe mode. Then in the bottom right, we have the amp gauge, and this will be built up in sword mode. Once that bar is full, you'll then enter amped mode using different files, and you'll do the explosive damage and elemental damage and whatever else you pick for your files for your weapon. It's pretty damn awesome. Now, in general, when you're using the axe mode, you'll be using the axe mode to build up the switch gauge so you can actually start using your sword mode. However, the axe mode is actually better when it comes to mobility and reach. For example, if we pull out axe mode, you can see that we can move around fairly quickly. However, if we swap over to the sword mode, it's a bit more slow and the reach is not as long as the axe mode. However, the sword mode does come with its own benefits as well, which allows you to deal attacks faster than the actual axe mode, and you'll deal a higher damage with the sword mode than the axe mode as well, so it's pretty nice between the two of them. Like most other weapons, you're also able to target wounds using the focus move, which again is just by holding the same buttons down and then R1, and you can see here that it will kind of look the same for your axe and also your sword. It's pretty cool and just looks incredible. Now, if you've noticed there, we were in sword mode and we actually ran out of the switch gauge mode. So if you look in the top left, the bar went below the white line. Once that happens, you'll automatically get put back into your axe mode. So you'll need to start building up your combos again to get that sword mode available. If you notice, your normal combo is just spamming triangle to get the spiral burst slash and then overhead slash, which goes into side slash and then the spiral burst slash. The side slash and spiral burst slash will give you a very nice boost to your switch gauge, so just be aware that that's one of the best ways to actually charge that up. Now, with any other weapon as well, while you're using it, you can always just press X or whatever button it is you're using on your platform to do dodges. You can do a roll backwards, you can dodge sideways, it doesn't really matter at all. You've got very nice mobility for dodging when it comes to the switch axe. Just be aware that that is a thing with this weapon, like most others. Now, there are also a number of cool combos and moves you have to learn with the switch axe. One of these cool moves is if you hold down R2, if you're using a PlayStation 5 controller, you can then just hold down the attack and press triangle and circle, and this will then give you the unbridled slash. This is one of the highest damage moves for the switch axe, and it is great when the monster has stopped moving or you've got an opening where the monster is knocked down. You do want to be aware that it does eat a fair amount of your switch gauge though, so just use it carefully while actually using the ability. Now, when your amp gauge is full, like in the top left, you can also then do a full release slash, which is another powerful move. You have to be amped up for your sword mode, so what you'll do is hold down R2, and then you'll just press triangle and circle once again, and you'll see this little charge up, and then that turns into the full release slash. As you can see there, that was so much damage, and it's just a pure insane move. Now, the nice thing about the switch axe as well is that it does come with 2 offset attacks. So when a monster is attacking, you can hold triangle and circle, but you do need to time it perfectly for when the attack is coming down. And there we go, there's a great example of this. You'll also then be able to press triangle or circle again to do a follow-up heavy slam, which is one of the best ways to follow up an offset attack while you're in the axe mode. Now, it does work slightly different when it comes to the sword mode, because here you're going to be pressing R2 and to morph, and then you're going to do the sword overhead slash just as the attack comes in, which is a good example like that. We're then going to have one of our best combos that we can do with the switch axe in the sword mode, and we're going to need to make sure that we're fully amped up. So what we're going to do is then switch over to the sword mode by holding down R2. Once you've done that, we'll then press triangle and circle, which will then go into that beautiful full release slash. We'll then press triangle after going back into the axe mode to get the attack. We'll then switch, and once we've done that, we'll then go back into the same full release slash. It's a very nice combo. It does use up a ton of your switch gauge though, but you do deal a high amount of damage. I'd recommend using this when the monster is down because you will be doing 2 full release slashes and you need the extra time to get those attacks through. We then have your main combo, which is going to be a brilliant way to actually use the weapon. And here we're going to do a full wild swing, which is like this. We're going to press that on the axe again. Then while we're doing that, we're going to swap into the sword switch mode and then press triangle straight away to do a nice overhead slash. Then we're going to go back into axe mode and then use the overhead slash once again. So we're going to start off pressing circle to do a wild swing just like this. Then during that, we're going to swap over to the sword and then we're going to get a nice rising slash. We're going to swap back to the axe, then press triangle again to do a spiral burst slash, and then repeat the whole combo going into the wild swing, morph it back into the sword, get a nice rising slash, swap that again, and then keep going into the spiral burst slash, and then wild swing once again. You do want to be careful though while using this combo, because it does require you to take into consideration all the animations that are going on, so you want to be careful using this on monsters that are very mobile and in the middle of an attack. Now there is a very nice combo as well, where you're going to be maintaining the switch gauge. You'll be using a mix of attacks from the actual axe and the sword mode, which is pretty cool. So you're going to start off in axe mode or in any sheathed mode, then you're going to press R2 to swap over to the sword, you're going to press triangle to an overhead slash and swap straight back, then another triangle attack, then go back into the sword, and then you're going to get a spiral burst slash and an overhead slash to finish the combo. Then you're just going to repeat and rinse again exactly like this. And as you can see here, we've got a decent amount of damage coming through from the attacks, which is absolutely lovely. So another nice combo you can do is that when you're in axe mode, you can then just continue pressing circle to do your wild swing. Once you're doing your wild swing though, if you press triangle, you'll go into a nice heavy slam, which is great for knocking down monsters and generating that switch gauge charge. Since what you want to do is use the sword mode to actually build up your amp gauge, one of the best ways to do this is by using the next combo. So you want to be in sword mode, obviously, and then we're going to press triangle into an overhead slash, another triangle, circle, circle, and then from the Heavenward Fuel Flurry, we're going to press triangle again, and then go into circle and circle. And as you can see here, we now have a fully charged amp gauge, which is absolutely brilliant. That's exactly what we want with this weapon. And one of the coolest combos and highest damaging combos for the switch axe is making sure that you're in sword mode. And now we're going to press circle to do the double slash, which is awesome. We're then going to press triangle and circle as well, and this will then put us into the element discharge. Now when you're in the element discharge, you actually want to be spamming triangle as soon as you can, and it will do a nice build up, which is the element discharge finisher, which is absolutely awesome. Once that has happened, and you want to swap back to the sword and then press triangle for the overhead slash. Now one of the quickest and easiest ways to actually fill up your switch gauge while you're using the axe is just to simply use the triangle, triangle, triangle combo, which is your main combo when building up your switch gauge. It's pretty nice and deals a good amount of damage and will build that switch gauge up very quickly. Now one thing you want to take a note of is that when you're looking at the different types of switch axes available to you, each one will have a file type. This is kind of like ammo for your bow and so on, but file type has 3 different versions. You've got the power file, which does pure raw damage. You have elemental file, which will do elemental damage, and you have your status effect file as well, which will inflict status buildup, which is awesome. So if you're trying to paralyze a monster, then taking a paralyze file is going to be the best way to go. Now, obviously, you have all these different combos and attacks that we've been learning today, but while you're attacking, you can actually just swap through your sword mode or axe mode whenever you like. You're not locked down to doing a combo here or there. If you want to swap between the two, you are free to do that. All you have to do is press R2 and you can literally do it whenever you like. So just keep that in the back of your head for when you're using the move and want to swap between the 2 modes. Now when it comes to armor in the game, then what you're looking at for endgame sets in general with the switch axe is a set of like 4-piece Gore Magala, because that's a very popular one for endgame. Some builds even use Argfeld pieces of gear and even the Guardian Fulgur Anjanath. So you want to be looking at getting those unlocked for your build as you're using the switch axe later down the line. If you're looking for decorations, the ones you'll be hunting down most are Chain, Challenger, Mighty, Sane, Counter, and Tenderizer. Do be aware though that you really only need the same decorations if you are using the Gormagala pieces because of their set bonuses, so just be aware of that. For your weapon itself, you'll be looking at using Crit Boost or Power Prolonger because that will give you a really good boost to your actual weapon. But overall guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are enjoying the switch axe, let me know in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more of these weapon tutorials, then please let me know in the comment section below and which weapon you'd love to see next. These weapons are absolutely a blast, and I was not expecting to love the switch axe as much as I do, but this weapon is so cinematic and so much fun, so I'm having an absolute blast using it. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please click the like button below and subscribe for more Monster Hunter Wilds videos in the future. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.